Let's call this special board meeting to order, and I'll ask the treasurer to call the roll.
President Baker,
Present.
Mr. Brown,
Here.
Vice President Cole,
Present.
Ms. Gibbs, Ms. Hudson,
Here?
Mr. Peretti,
Here.
Ms. Reyes. You have a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. And we typically dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance during a special meeting unless there's any objection. All right? All right, so we are here for one purpose, as you all know. And is there a motion that the agenda as presented be adopted?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
President Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Vice President Cole,
Yes.
Ms. Hudson,
Yes.
Mr. Peretti,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. I want to thank my colleagues, district staff, everyone who changed schedules to be here with us today. The purpose of this special meeting is to discuss and vote on actions in connection with an educational visit to Chicago for 74 of our students at Ridgeview Middle School. Let me share some brief comments to set the stage for today's action. For generations, a rite of passage for many of our middle school students has been the opportunity to travel to important American cities such as Washington, D.C., New York, or Chicago, to visit iconic landmarks, learn in some of the nation's most recognized museums, and take in the cultures of these diverse cities. To pay for these trips, students have held fundraisers or worked to earn extra money. Families have scrimped and saved, all to cover the hundreds of dollars needed for each student. And for years, our families, as well as the families at schools all across Ohio, have relied upon Discovery Tours Travel Agency to deliver these trips. But just a couple of weeks ago, Discovery Tours disappeared, shutting their doors and declaring bankruptcy, leaving so many students with their bags packed and nowhere to go, leaving so many families with holes in their bank accounts and nothing to show for it, and that's not right. So at our Ridgeview Middle School, 74 young men and women had their bags packed and were ready to venture to Chicago next week when news broke that their trip might be canceled. And their families, who had paid $695 for each child, had little hope of seeing a refund. So the call for help went out, and wouldn't you know that the first to respond were our firefighters, the members of the International Association of Firefighters Local 67, and specifically firefighter Dave Burt, whose wife is a teacher at the school. Mr. Burt's heroic efforts to rescue the Ridgeview trip drew in help from lots of other folks, including OPSI AFSCME, the union representing our classified staff, bus drivers, custodians, secretaries, and food service workers, the Columbus Education Association, the union representing our teachers, the Education First Credit Union, where so many education professionals in Central Ohio bank, Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge Number 9, and Prime Tours of Dublin, who offered to arrange a replacement tour for our students at a reduced price. This afternoon, we've gathered to officially rescue the Ridgeview Middle School trip to Chicago and to give our students an exceptional and safe educational experience, to recognize the sacrifices of some of our families, and to thank these individuals, these heroes who have stepped up to help. Specifically, we'll vote on a resolution that will, among other things, authorize a contract with Prime Tours to conduct the field trip, accept donations from our community partners to help pay for the trip, and authorize the expenditure of the funds, a combination of donations and dedicated student activity funds, which will fully pay for the trip. Colleagues, the resolution is at your place before you. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
And a second? All right. With that, open the table for discussion, and I've got just a few more things. I'd like to recognize and invite to the podium some of the individuals who are here with us this afternoon who have helped us to raise the much-needed funds. Mr. Dave Burt, who's a member of Columbus Firefighters Foundation, the charity branch of IAFF Local 67, whose members are donating $10,000. So,
Great check.
thank you very much.
He hold the check up.
Yes.
There you go.
And
Maybe you can't see
Big
it.
checks.
Around this way too.
There you go.
You want to turn it that way?
and would either one of you like to briefly address the board?
Just basically, as Mr. Baker mentioned, my wife is a teacher at Ridgeview, and we've had kids through our school district do this trip, and my wife, over the years, not this particular trip, but has gone on the trip, and so we know how important that is for all the children. So she came to me and said, hey, we're stuck. Can the Firefighter Foundation help? Knowing that I was a member, and I said, yeah, let me start making some phone calls, and we had a meeting this week scheduled, so we met, discussed it, and then I spoke with Miss James, the principal, and she got me in contact with Miss Stockard and everybody down here, and next thing you know, here we are.
Well, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Somebody will take that check at the door. Next, I'd like to
Stan, you'll need a
recognize...
large deposit slip.
Yes. I'd like to recognize and invite up to the podium Lois Carson, who's the State Vice President of OPSI-AFSCME and President of our Columbus School Employees Association, which represents our classified staff, and you're donating $5,000.
Outstanding.
Good afternoon. On
Afternoon.
behalf of the Ohio Public School Employees Association, I stand here proudly to present to Columbus City Schools, where I also represent over 3,000 members as the president for classified employees. When we received the call from Ms. Stocker, she said, we're not sure, but can you help? Well, she had perfect timing because we were in our state conference down at the Hilton. We've been there all week. I immediately went out to the executive board and said, can we make a donation, explain what happened? And they were like, why'd you come and ask us? Why didn't you just say yes? Because that's what OPSI does. We support the students that we serve throughout the state of Ohio, where we serve over 30,000 members in public school systems. So I called Maria right back, said on behalf of OPSI, we will donate $5,000 to the children of Ridgeview. But then I had to ask, what was the firemen doing? And doggone it, you bought a $10,000 check. Now, I'm gonna have to go back and say, I'm sorry, I told them $5,000 and the firemen bought $10,000, but that's okay because that's what union does. Union sticks together and we help our communities. So on behalf of my union friends over here and Ohio Public School Employees Association, anytime we can help our kids, no matter what it is, you know we do. And personally, I'm a proud product of Columbus City Schools and a proud mother who has chaperoned many of these state trips, and I know how it is to raise that money from car washes, spaghetti dinners, you name it, and I got 3 kids to travel through the school system. So kudos to you guys for reaching out to us. Kudos to you guys for giving back. Thank you.
And I believe Mike Wettrich is here, who's the CEO of Education First Credit Union, and you have generously agreed to give $2,500.
Yes, thank you.
Would you like to say a few words?
I would, thank you, President Baker. On behalf of our 14,000 members, our staff, and our board of directors, it's our pleasure to donate the $2,500 to help these kids in their rite of passage. We recently granted 8 classroom loans around Central Ohio for our teachers, and the need is constant. So when the call to action comes out for something like this, it's easy for us to step up and do the right thing. We wish we could do more, as I'm sure many of these folks will say, but yeah, we're happy to contribute any way we can. So thank you all.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
And I believe we do have a representative of the Fraternal Order of Police here, Officer Brian Steele. Please come forward and say a few words, and $2,000 from FOP. Thank you.
I had a great speech till I saw that giant check. I couldn't believe that myself. We all know everybody loves the fire department. We're going to hear this for the rest of the year. So thank you, gentlemen. My name's Sergeant Steele, CPD. I'm the trustee for Fraternal Elite Police, Capital City Lodge 9. This was easy. When we had a group come to us, said the kids need some help, we talked to our board, we said absolutely. We're proud of city schools, we have 4,100 members, they live, work, and play in these neighborhoods. We support these neighborhoods, we will always support the children. Thank you very much for the opportunity. On behalf of President Pappas, who could not be here, you got a trustee, but thank you so much for everything.
Thank you. Thank you. And I don't believe our partners at Columbus Education Association were able to provide a representative today, but let's recognize them for their $2,500 gift. And also here is David Matthews, who is with Prime Tours. And are you, please come forward and say a few words, and thank you for
Thank you,
stepping up.
President Baker and members of the board. Thank you for doing so much for these students in such a short time. I've been in this business 22 years doing student trips and never had an experience like this. Number one, where something so negative happened with a member of our industry from this company in Northern Ohio. And number two, most importantly, seeing so many people doing so much so quickly to make it right for these students and their families. This is going to be an amazing trip. This is coming together so quickly, thanks to all of you, starting with the leaders at the school at Ridgeview. And we're going to make sure it's an amazing trip. And we just asked them, what do we need to do to make it right and help make this trip a possibility? And so we're happy to do that, and thank you all so much, and also thanks to our partners for helping to make it possible as well. And we're just trying to help make it right, and you all have played a huge role in that, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. And speaking of leadership at the school level, we have Principal James here. Please come up to the podium. Now imagine you're the one taking all of those phone calls from all of those parents, having to answer all those tough questions, and here she is. Principal?
Well, I would just like to thank everyone who is here this afternoon. I'm very grateful for your generosity, all of our community partners, and Mr. Burt and his wife, Mrs. Burt. You know, they really just jumped in there and took charge. And it's really just all a blessing that the community was able to come together as well. And really, our parents were really receptive and just cheering us on and hoping that the students would be able to go on the trip as well. So I really appreciate the support of the parents at Ridgeview too. And thank you also for the district leadership, because they really moved expeditiously to get the job done.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Principal. And so speaking of our staff, the treasurer, the chief of staff, the superintendent, chief legal counsel, folks in communications have all been working on this since we first heard nonstop. And so thank you all for helping to bring us to this point. And so could we have those people just stand? So I see Maria Stockard is there and the treasurer is here. Just recognize these individuals who have done so much over the last few days. Thank you very much. Board members, is there any other discussion before I call for the vote? Mr. Peretti.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate what Laura said. Thank you very, very much. It's really not a surprise, seeing our first responders and our public service and police are the first ones always to come help our district. And we know it as a board and respect it. And we're just so grateful that we have such a great community. Thank you once again. If I can ever be of help, please let me know in this board. Appreciate it.
Any other comments, Board Member Hudson?
I reiterate, thank you so much as well. And when folks are left holding the bag like this in a bankruptcy, it's despicable. I would just ask that we look into, as a district, special travel insurance for emergencies like this. So if there's a catastrophe at our destination or something like this occurs, we might have some backup. And I know that's not something that's been common, but it's increasingly more common in the marketplace.
General Counsel, would you like to say a word?
Please, President Baker, Board Member Hudson, I think that's a great idea. We've already started conversations with our district's insurance broker, which is scouring all the providers of insurance to see what's out there and what might make sense to protect our families that participate in these trips as well as the district.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, just briefly, I also want to thank all of you here and everybody who helped step up and get this together so that we can make it right for our kids. Just another example of our community here in Columbus. When things like this happen, when there's a need, all of our partners throughout the area step up, and we appreciate it, and it's good to live in a community that can do this and do this so well and so quickly. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President?
Thank you all. I can't thank you enough. This has been a wonderful occasion for us to show what leadership really is, to show how community comes together, to make things happen for our children and our families. I'm a parent of a student at Indianola. We prepared for a trip, and luckily we were thoughtful enough to get insurance should something happen. But I'm glad that that comment was brought up, and I look forward to seeing how we continue to build some systems in place that support our families and our children in times like this in preparing. So thank you, and thank everyone.
I remember a trip to Chicago when I was in the 11th grade. That was a long time ago. It was horse and buggy almost. So this just represents to me the spirit of success in Columbus City Schools.
Absolutely.
So whatever you hear about Columbus City Schools, this is how we come together to work on behalf of our students and our families. And so I couldn't be more proud of individuals at the school level, of our community partners, of our board members, of our staff. And so this is what it's all about. And so that's why we're all engaged in this. And this is why we're so passionate about what we do here at Columbus City Schools. So we can't thank you enough. And on behalf of the two board members who were not able to join us today, they're also very grateful to everyone who has had a part in this success. And so if there's nothing else on this question, then I'll ask the treasurer to call the roll.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Vice President Cole?
Absolutely, yes.
Ms. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Peretti?
Yes.
President Baker?
Yes.
That motion carried.
Thank you. Is there anything else for the good of the order today, board members? If not, the chair will entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Mr. Treasurer?
Vice President Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Peretti?
Yes.
Ms. Hudson?
Yes.
President Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Motion carried.
We stand adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a great day.